Moderators.
No, you actually. Actually, easier than email because emailing they come pretty late because it's going to your website, so they don't always come on time. Thank you so much. To get which? Okay. Yeah, just found that on Friday, so yeah. So thank you. Nice seeing you.
Hi, good to see you again. What's that? Oh, okay. I did not hear that. All right. All right. Who told you? Oh, okay. Well, all right. I guess we're just getting ready.
Yeah. Haven't done them before. Seen them, so.
Did you?
No.
No intro. Oh my gosh.
Waiting also.
Well, it was coming up.
You're a numbers guy too.
Maybe 10.
I was doing the same thing, trying to estimate.
Right?
Kind of have to.
I know.
At least for me, I do.
I do. Nerve-wracking. Otherwise, I'm like, okay, wait now.
What to prepare for? Is it 1 minute, 5 minutes, 2 minutes?
It doesn't matter. I talk too fast in the end. You know? If I have to stretch it out, it's like. So, let's see.
I take a lot of pauses, so I'm trying to speed it.
Okay. We have the opposite problem. So.
I tend to speak slowly usually, so I was like, okay, 1 minute. Let's try and do this.
You. Okay. Okay. Yeah. Okay, so 2 minutes, we still want to be 2 minutes, and they'll just do basically everything they want to do. And just don't. Thank you. All right. Yeah, okay. Yeah. I tend to talk to them, I think sometimes, so. That's cool. Oh, really? Well, I'll go after you, so I'll do that. Second year, at least hopefully. I just do it.
The manager, yes. Yeah, that's why I said chose not to be here. Oh, I did not. Yeah. Oh, I did. Just not answering any of your questions.
Yeah. Yes, ma'am, yes. An interesting experience so far. Yes.
I've got my dog. She's old. Lady. Long time citizen. Here's Leroy and Ellen. Yeah. No. Hey, if you don't ask me at all. I'm not sure how much I'm gonna get to because there's so many of them. And eight if you can't leave.
I can't even imagine right now, I'm like.
Yeah, so.
So, that doesn't sound like. Yeah.
No, they are. We'll get them also, we're after we're doing every Monday, so it's gonna be written out.
Yeah.
I don't too. It is.
She gets a little crazy. That's what she was saying. That's what she said.
I don't think you can.
Well, definitely.
Yes. Yes, ma'am. We will. It's good to see you. It's been forever. Okay. All right, it's 5:29, so we'll get ready in just a minute. Candidates, are you guys ready?
Yes.
All right. I could probably talk without the microphone and everybody could hear me. Just have to project. Adrian, let me know when to go. Okay. 30, let's see. 5:29. I don't have a slow watch. Oh, thank you, darling. 29, 28, 27, 6, 5. Okay. Are we ready? Thank you. Welcome to the 2025 City Council Candidates Forum, sponsored by the Santa Fe New Mexican, KSFR, and Keswabe radio stations, hosted by Santa Fe Community College. We appreciate all the candidates who are taking time to be here and want to thank audience members for attending and welcome those watching online. My name is Inez Russell Gomez, and I am the editorial page editor for the Santa Fe New Mexican. I am joining Tazba McCullough, General Manager of KSFR Radio, and Larry Martinez, longtime executive at the state and with Presbyterian Medical Services, and currently a Keswabe Radio host and reporter, to ask questions of our candidates for City Council. Together, we wrote those questions with the concerns of voters in mind. For weeks, the New Mexican and our forum partners have been running online surveys, which asks residents what they care about right now in Santa Fe. The top concerns so far, and more reporting to follow, so read the New Mexican, are public safety, homelessness, affordable housing, the city's future, infrastructure, water and land development, city parks maintenance and improvements, jobs, economic development, and public transportation, and that includes bike lanes and walking trails. The rules for the forum are simple. We will ask questions, and we trust the candidates will answer them. Our candidates are seated in alphabetical order by district. And with us tonight, I'm going to introduce them, and everybody kind of wave your hand in case people in the back can't see the signs, because some of us, as we age, are kind of blind a little bit. District 1 candidates, Patricia Fagali, David Montoya, and Catherine T. Rivera. From District 2, we have Elizabeth Barrett, Paul Bustamante, Aurora Martinez, and Leroy Philip Trujillo. District 3 incumbent Councilor Lee Garcia, running for re-election, also is here. And District 4 incumbent Amanda Chavez, also a candidate for re-election, chose not to attend. Thanks to everyone. Our timekeeper will let you know when your 2 minutes are coming to a close, and we won't cut off your microphones, but we will be waving those paddles, so please pay attention to the time. Here's the first question. It's 2 minutes. I want to ask, starting with Patricia, what is your definition of public safety, and what can the City Council and the city do to improve it in our town?
Hi, can you all hear me?
Yeah.
Great. So public safety, clearly something that's on all of our minds. I think it is both the ability to feel safe and to not have crime around you, and also the ability to get around our community safely, which includes our streets, the sidewalks, and other ways that we use our streets, the traffic safety. So it's a lot of things, including not having not having people who are unhoused on our streets, doing things that we don't need them to be doing in public, and also feeling safe, having our weeds trimmed, having our sidewalks connected, and the ability to walk around safely.
Great. Thank you. David?
So public safety is all those things and more. You know, it's do our police live in our community? You know, it's kind of hard to do community policing when 69% of your police force doesn't live in Santa Fe. So it's feeling safe. It's being able to walk around at night, even downtown in the plaza, without feeling a threat or anything like that. It's also a lot of upstream things as well. It's about having good youth programs. It's about having intervention. It's about all those upstream causes of crime that in the long term will keep the community safe. I really think that it also refers to, you know, traffic safety. You know, is there noise at night from people racing up and down the street? Is there reckless driving? You know, are we safe in our neighborhoods because of things like that? Are we safe when we're driving in the morning, going to work? You know, you shouldn't have to fear for your life when you're walking across the parking lot at Best Buy to go get something. So it means a lot of those things. And, you know, it starts with all of us. Not only is it the duty of government to push out public safety, but it's also the neighborhoods. I mean, one of the things that I found as I was making calls around to neighborhood associations is a lot of these neighborhood associations no longer exist. And when you don't have strong neighborhood associations, you don't have strong neighborhoods. And strong neighborhoods are really the building block of public safety.
Thank you. Catherine?
Thank you for the question. The number one meeting topic that occurred over the last 4 years were town halls on public safety, and they were full. That says a lot about Santa Fe's public safety image over the last 4 years. The citizens wanted to know what was happening. They wanted to know what the city was doing about it. And on the reverse side, the city was taking an opportunity to explain what they were trying to do. Santa Fe has not felt safe over the last few years. And the definition of public safety to me is the look and feel of the city, the safety of its residents, the appearance of the city in terms of vacant buildings. Buildings look like they have some questionable activity in it. It's all of that. What the city can do to help is, number one, use the budget to give the police force what they need, give them the tools that they need. But I also believe it's also an education, very similar to what my competitor David here said. We need to get in the front end at the schools and educate about some of the dangers and damages about some of the activity that's going on. Personally, I have been approached by 2 neighborhoods who felt like they were under distress. And they said, what do we do? How can we change this? So those town hall meetings helped, giving them a place to go, what to do, and how to get set up. They set up neighborhood watches, and one of those particular neighborhoods in the north side off of Bishop's Lodge Road turned out to be a very high, strange activity for the police. It is now on their radar, and they have a high attention rate for the police to keep track of what's going on there. The neighborhoods do not feel safe. Most of the neighbors do not feel safe. And I think public safety, 1, is a feeling for the city of Santa Fe, and 2, the response time from our police force.
Thank you. We'll go to District 2, starting with Elizabeth.
Hi guys, my name is Liz Barrett. I'm running in District 2 and I'm a mom and I'm a social worker. And I have 3 tenets to my campaign, which are affordability, livability, and sustainability. And this, for me, falls into livability because I look at this through a mom lens. I have 2 kids and I work in the public schools. And I want our neighborhoods to feel safe. I want our schools to feel safe. And I want our kids to feel safe. So I think about it like I want my kids to be able to ride their bike to their grandparents' house, go get some Frogurt, walk the dog around the neighborhood while feeling safe. I don't want them stepping over needles, right? I don't want them to have to worry about their safety and me worry. I think they should be able to run around our neighborhood unsupervised and I should feel safe. I think we need to invest a lot more in public safety. I think we need to invest a lot more in alternative response units. I think we need to invest a lot more in treatment, mental health, all of these things. Police, whatever we need to do to make it safer. So me, I look at it through the mom lens, and those would be my ideas. Thank you.
Thank you. Paul, you're next. What is public safety to you, and what would you do about it?
Okay, can you hear me? I want to make, okay. I actually come from a public safety background. My family has been involved in public safety. My dad's a retired firefighter. My brother's a retired police officer. I've been a PSA with Albuquerque Police Department. So when I started running, one of the first things that I did is I reached out to the chiefs of the fire and the police departments. And I had a long conversation with both of them. And I asked them both, what can the city do to help you do your jobs better? Surprisingly, it wasn't put more boots on the ground. Both of those departments have made great progress in getting more people, when I talked to them, they only needed 5 firefighters to meet their goal, and the police department needed 13 officers to meet their goal. The number one answer from both of them was affordable housing. And it's because, as we saw in the paper recently, most of our officers, most of our first responders, they can't afford to live here in Albuquerque. And that's a great injustice because when I grew up, my dad was a member of the church. My neighbor, who was a police officer, was an active member of the community. He was a Little League coach. We don't give them that opportunity. And that opportunity builds trust with the citizens. If they're your neighbors and you know who they are, you're more likely to trust them. The other thing I did was I was able to go on a ride along. And real quick, I just want to thank Officer Lucero because he was a great example of the professionalism of Santa Fe PD. And what I observed that night was that for the first 5 hours of the shift, the majority of calls were dealing with people in mental distress or with substance abuse issues. And I think personally that these calls are more suited to the alternative response unit. They have caseworkers that can go out with them on these calls, and they're able to resolve a lot of the heavy call burden that the police and the fire department see. So I would like to see that unit bumped up.
All right.
Thank you.
Aurora.
Hi, everyone. Thank you for having me this evening. I'm just going to get straight into it. Public safety to me isn't just feeling safe. It's actually about community. Community meaning it's everything that we do. It's not just mental health, it's not just firefighters, it's not just housing or affordability. It is everything under the sun. It's taking the town halls. If you listen to everything that everyone says at the town halls, we need to be more community input. We need to take that community input and we need to put it in place. Lots of people in every neighborhood that we have right now, we all have the same issues. The problem is there is affordable housing. All of our issues in Santa Fe are interconnected. Every single one of them relies on a police officer, but the police officer needs a home. It relies on a caseworker. We don't have enough caseworkers in town. Where are we going to get these resources? It is always all about resources. We do not have the resources enough to deal with our public safety. So we need to not just bring in caseworkers, few firefighters, yes, that's great. But we also need to make sure that we're listening to the people in the communities. We're making sure that houses are affordable. We are completely right now just trying to keep our head above water. We need to get money for those resources. We need to keep the people here for those resources. We need caseworkers. That's my feeling being a CYFD investigator at one point. I did see a lot. I did go through a lot. And without those caseworkers, without alternative response units, they really do a lot more than we expect in this neighborhood and in this whole community. So I think that we need that.
Thank you. And finally, in that district, Leroy.
Hello, and thank you for coming. I've spoken with, when it comes to safety, I've spoken with police force. We're fully staffed. We're fully staffed with firefighters. And the main issue that crime keeps on happening and end this cycle of crime is the judges. The judges are not holding criminals accountable. There's slap on the wrist policy. So we need to hold judges accountable. We need people to run for judge seats. If you want crime and to feel safe in your neighborhoods, we need better judges and better legislation. The legislation right now is we're letting people do whatever they want and letting them out of jail within a couple hours. And that's to keep it short, that's the main cause of the safety and crime in this city. Police are doing their job, firefighters are doing their jobs. We need to start holding the upper management accountable.
All right, Councilor Garcia.
Thank you. Hope everybody can hear me. You know, the topic of public safety, and I commend everyone up here for their thoughts and their processes on how we decipher what we're all living through. Because each and every day we get up and we get in our car and we drive down the street, and you may be going 25 miles an hour in a 25 mile per hour zone, and somebody's zipping past you at 45 miles per hour. And so from a public safety perspective, I know there's so many topics that we can actually talk about. Some of the things that I'm currently doing along with some of my co-counselors is to introduce aggressive driving ordinances. Some of the things that we do is we take a look at the current fines that are happening on our streets, what aggressive driving is versus reckless and careless driving. And so from a traffic perspective, we are looking at not only increasing the fines, but creating more accountability from that perspective. There's areas, I've worked with the governor's office, including some of her top safety people, and some of the ideas around community policing and safety zone policing. Now, our police they are currently utilizing statistics to identify where crime is happening in our communities. And one of the things that we're trying to do through our legislative process and our policy is to enact safety zone policing, which identifies areas that crime is happening in the areas crime is happening the most, and our police force can focus in those areas. And that will move, because once they focus in that area, it's going to move to another area. And so from the perspective of public safety, I think there's a lot to be done. I also really believe in supporting our police chiefs and not making that political. Thank you.
Thank you.
All right, here we go. The obelisk is a symbol of political, cultural, social differences that have existed since the founding of Santa Fe. How do you balance tribal constituencies, particularly the 8 northern pueblos, who have formally requested the obelisk be moved, with those who want it rebuilt? We'll start with Patricia.
David.
Oh, I'm sorry, David.
All right, David.
So I think it's no mystery where I stand on the obelisk. I'm a veteran. I think that we're the only community in the United States that actually dismantled a veteran, a monument that honored veterans who fought against slavery. We're the only ones. I think that the Soldiers Monument needs to be rebuilt in the place that it's at. I think that it needs to also retain its original meaning, which is honoring those troops that gave their lives in defense of our nation. You know, we've torn down plenty of other monuments that honored traitors from the Confederacy, and I think that I don't want to be the only community in this country that has torn down a monument that actually honors veterans. I hope that someday, if there's ever a monument made to veterans of my era, that my grandkids or someone will stand up to defend that. I also think that we need to respect our Indigenous brothers and sisters and our neighbors. And we have to remove any sort of offending language from those monuments in order to move forward. But we need to move forward. I think what's really exacerbated this is the fact that we haven't made any decisions on this in 5 years. It's a wound that's festered for that long, and it's time for us all to come together and heal and remember the original intent of the monument, and at the same time balance that with our respect to our neighbors and folks that we share blood with in the Pueblo community. That's it.
Catherine.
Thank you for the question. He's correct. This is festered for Santa Fe. But Santa Fe, with its image and its history, should be a leader in all things history. I believe Santa Fe should stand up and show what respect looks like for this monument. I agree that it should be rebuilt and replaced in the same place that it was taken down. But I also believe that with our respect to our Native brothers, we all are people who respect our dead. I think if you talk to the tribal community, they have traditions and they have ways of respecting their dead and remembering their dead, as do we. And I think that commonality we can build on. I would like to see Santa Fe be a leader, put this monument back up, talk about why we put it up, talk about how the importance of it was, especially the fact that it was, in fact, the only monument standing to the Union soldiers in the United States.
Elizabeth.
Thanks. I know there's a lot of feeling and emotion behind this issue, and I know that it got brought down during a tumultuous time in our nation's history. I know that nationally there was a lot of activity around this time, right, where this was happening across our country. So I think from what I've understood from talking to various groups that the best way to move forward would be a diverse group of people, a diverse group of artists, of creatives coming together and having difficult, tough conversations. It's not going to be done easily. The chart process, nothing came to fruition on that. So guess what? We're going to have tough conversations with our friends and neighbors about how to move forward. But I think there's something about the artistic community and how they work together that could bring this forward in an amazing way that could respect the past and also move forward. So you don't have to say the past is gone, it's over. We can remember it. We can come together in a way that's moving forward, that's taking something from the past and moving forward in the future. And I really think it should involve some young people too. Young people with creative ideas on how to bring it all together and again, have those tough conversations with each other because it's been very divisive. And Santa Fe needs to stand together in unity and move forward. Thank you.
Paul?
Well, first, thanks for the question. I was afraid we weren't going to be asked any emotionally charged questions tonight, so thank you. Well, I'm going to touch a little bit on something Mr. Montoya brought up, and that is, why are we as candidates in 2025 still dealing with this as a question? Why are we still spending hundreds of thousands of dollars on committees, on studies that apparently we're going to ignore? This decision should have been decided long before any of us came to sit up at these tables. Now, personally, I kind of feel like it doesn't matter what I think or what I feel about the obelisk, because this should be put on a ballot. Let's ask the voters what they want to do with this. Let's get the people's decision, and then, this is a crazy idea, but let's get our elected officials to do their job and act on that information. Let's stop screwing around with this. Let's make a decision, let's stick to it, and let's do it. Thank you.
Okay. Aurora?
I do feel strongly about the monument. As far as being a Santa Fean, I support leaving it where it is, being rebuilt where it is. It is part of our history. I do respect my brothers and sisters in the Pueblos. Most of us Santa Feans that are native are mestizo. We are indigenous and Spanish. I can't cut one side off more than the other. This is something that I respect my brothers and sisters. I truly do. But I also have family that is veterans, POW. This is honoring veterans. This is something that is extremely beautiful for Santa Fe. And it should be held in as a beautiful monument to honor our veterans. It is extremely important. Taking it down, moving it, is just not honoring them. And even trying to put creatives on this isn't really going to fix this situation, because this runs between history, veterans. It's already been talked about. People have pretty much spoken. They want it back where it belongs, and it is part of Santa Fe history. Let's leave it there. Let's fix it. But to respect my brothers and sisters in the Pueblos, let's take down the wording. Let's make sure that we can be one again. Let's unify.
Leroy?
Yes, I've spoken to lots of citizens within the city of Santa Fe, and I know a lot of people don't understand the history of the monument and the Battle of Glorieta. The Battle of Glorieta, it included multiple ethnic groups, Mexicans, Native Americans, Hispanics, Anglos, that all fought in that war against hired Native Americans that the Confederate Army hired to fight with them. So it was one of the few maybe the only battle in America where most of us came together to fight the Confederate Army and pre-Ku Klux Klan members. And it's a great example of how we could come together to battle, slavery and negative impacts, stuff that could influence our community if we all come together and work it out.
Councilor Lee Garcia?
Thank you for the question. I think when it comes to the monument and the soldiers' monument, the obelisk, we've spent a lot of time on it, more so than I think we really needed to. The chart process gave us some recommendations, which I think haven't been followed. But even more importantly, the lawsuit that we were mandated by the courts to rebuild it. Or there's some stipulations in there, and if you read the court order, it states as long as the moving of the obelisk does not constitute a use, and I think everybody needs to go into that and read to what use means. It's actually a law that the state. So if you want to change that, you're going to have to go to your state legislatures to change that, which means that we're going to have to rebuild it. Anything that's done to the monument constitutes a use. And so we have to go through that process with the state if we want to change it. So building it back is really our only options. And I am a proponent. I have been since the beginning, building it back where it goes. I do have many people in the northern pueblos that I call friends. all public council governors, the chairman, when we came up to a very strong vote on whether we would move it or even think about doing anything with it. And we had a long conversation. We even went to lunch over it, and they came back and said we want it to be moved. And I said, well, I really respect that, and I really believe that we should all put our heads together because it still is the city of Santa Fe and it belongs in the town square.
Okay, thank you. And Patricia, you're the final one.
Hi. Okay. So clearly, the obelisk is a important issue, and it is very emotional to a lot of people. I think that we need to do some community outreach and talk to the pueblos and the city. Maybe, like Paul said, to put it to an actual ballot in the city, or in the alternative, we could have some sort of citizen task force for it, not necessarily only creatives, but people from all over the city and the pueblos to come together and decide what to do. I don't think it's my place as one person to decide what happens with the obelisk, but I think that whatever does happen, we need to include all of the history, which includes the modern history, which includes what happened in 2020 when it was torn down, and includes what happened in the 70s when part of it was chiseled away. So I think we need to talk about the full history of the obelisk and not just when it was put up. Thank you.
Thank you.
Okay, the next question addresses an issue which some of you candidates have already addressed partially, but we're going to ask it directly now. Santa Fe is experiencing problems because of the lack of sufficient affordable housing. As a result, we are having difficulties in recruiting and hiring health, public safety, and education workers. Many of our children and those of the younger generation are moving. They can't afford their hometown. What ideas do you have for expanding the availability of affordable housing in Santa Fe? And we're going to start off with Catherine Rivera.
Well, thank you for giving me that question first. So it's a big question, and it's going to have a kind of an involved answer. But I wanted to start off with a prop. And I know you won't be able to see it from where you are, but this is a comparison of two developers, developer A and developer B. Neither of these developers paid a fee in lieu of, but they're both contributing affordable housing. One of them is building 244 units, and we're getting 24 affordable units. The other one is building 240, and we're getting all affordable housing. So the questions that Santa Fe has to answer is, are we attracting the right developers? And even if these are not local developers, and we want local developers, the second question the city needs to figure out with the county is, what is that magic math in the capital stack that they're using to allow them to make so many affordable houses or units for the city? We need to figure that out. They must have some magic that we don't know about, or local developers don't know about it, but we do need it. We do need affordable. We do need people to stay here. And I think the third dimension to this is, how do we assure that the affordable housing that we're developing is going to the people that need it? Do we need a list? Do we need a prioritization? How do we do that prioritization without discrimination? I don't have those answers, but those are areas that we're going to need to work on. You all have heard maybe that the city of Santa Fe is doing their general plan update and their land use code update, and they're planning to do some revisiting of the zoning. And I think that is huge in looking at where we put affordable housing and give those opportunities to the smaller developers. But it's a big topic. There's some big questions that I have in my mind as to, are we attracting the right people, and how are we learning from those developers that are able to give us the most affordable housing?
Thank you. Elizabeth?
Hey, guys. So this question about affordability is really a personal story for me. I'm a social worker. I work in the schools. And for a long time, my husband and I, we both used to work for Santa Fe Public Schools. So we both commuted up here for about 6 years because we thought we'd never be able to afford a house in Santa Fe, New Mexico, even though he was born and raised here. And we were living in Albuquerque for 12 years. We both enjoyed our jobs in Santa Fe. We thought we'll never be able to live here. And that was until I heard about HomeWise. This was 2015. I had a toddler. We were commuting. I thought, I love my job, but I just can't do this commute anymore with a toddler. And I don't think we're going to be able to afford a house there. So this whole story and question about affordability really hits home for me. I work in the schools. I know a ton of people who commute up. I know a ton of teachers, EAs. They cannot afford to live here. It's a big stress, and it's not good for the environment either to have to drive back and forth. So I would love to work on workforce housing for teachers. I would love to work on workforce housing for firefighters. David had mentioned that police officers don't live here, right? Only 30% of the police force lives here. That's an affordability problem that also goes into livability, safety. All of these things are connected, right? This affordability, livability, sustainability, it's all connected. And we need to invest a lot more in affordable housing. In our Affordable Housing Trust, we are experiencing a crisis right now. Our unhoused situation shows us we are in a crisis. We need to act like we're in a crisis, and we need to invest more. We need to double down on the Affordable Housing Trust. We put in $3 million a year. Guess what, guys? We're going to have to double that. We need to put at least $6 million in. Thanks.
Thank you. And Paul?
Well, I think so. As many of you with adult children, you probably know this as well. My oldest daughter can't afford to live in this town. And I think if we're going to address affordable housing, first let me start. New construction with the affordable, if you're going through the Affordable Housing Office this year, they just started a new 2-tier plan where they're giving priority to new construction. And so this is a change in how they do things and how they distribute funds to people who are going to build affordable houses in Santa Fe. But I think in order to really address affordable housing, we need to look at our city charters. And two of the things we need to look at are chapters 14, which is the land use code, and chapter 26, which is the Santa Fe Homes Program. The biggest thing I think we can do there's two things. There are two things that I think will make the most impact. One, we need to get rid of fee in lieu of. Every time a developer has been given that option, they have used it. And the result is we have less homes. We have less apartments available. The second thing is short-term rentals. There is only supposed to be 1,000 licensed short-term rentals in here. There is a site called AirDNA that keeps track of short-term rentals across the country. They show well over 2,000 just within the city limits. When I talked to Louis DeMella, who is with the AFSCME, the city union, he told me there's only 2 people right now that are in the enforcement division that can go around and cite people for violations of short-term rentals. 2 people. And even if they do, the maximum fine anybody is going to pay for having an illegal short-term rental right now is $500. So if they operate a short-term rental for a couple of months, I mean, do the math. I don't think they're worried about getting a $500 fine. So we need to beef up that enforcement. Thank you very much.
All right, Aurora?
I think I mentioned this. I'm not sure if anybody read the New Mexican on Midtown campus. This is one start to where we can actually start buying community land trusts, doing community land trusts, and making sure that those affordable houses stay affordable. Let's say somebody moves into the affordable houses. They're going to move out. They're going to try to sell it for a really high price. We don't want that. We want to make sure that that house stays affordable, meaning if we put a resale cap on it, meaning they can't go above and beyond. We want that. The reason why we want that is because that way somebody else who needs a home can come in, they can buy a home, it's affordable. It's open for the next person available. The important thing here that I prioritize is essential workers. Essential workers meaning firefighters, police, teachers, caseworkers. These are all things that are connected to crime and helping prevent crime. The more caseworkers that we have, the more chance that we have at keeping people off the streets. That's extremely important to me. So I really am trying to see what we can do with community land trusts and enforcing the rules that are already there. It's important for the community, but keeping essential workers is extremely important by keeping them here in town. So I think, yes, as far as everybody else goes, yes, we do need affordable houses, but for the essential workers, we really need to try and keep them here, and that should be a priority.
Thank you. Okay, Leroy?
Yes, when it comes to affordable housing, the demand isn't being met with supply. A lot of permits are taking years for developers to build houses in the housing that we need. So right now, the contractors have their free will to hike up the prices because they know they control the market with pretty much a monopoly. So that's why our prices are so high. We need to implement a system that rapidly approves building permits so local contractors, especially our local contractors and builders, could build us the housing that we need, and that's the reason why housing is an issue. And I hope you guys do research on this and do your own research. Thank you,
Patricia.
So I'm a lawyer. I'm also an urban planner. I worked for the city for the last 4 years. Some of that was with the Affordable Housing Department. There are many different kinds of things that we call affordable housing. There's subsidized housing, which is what the Office of Affordable Housing deals with. And there's housing that people can afford, which is not necessarily subsidized affordable housing. One way that we can get more housing, which will result in more housing being housing that people can afford, is when we rewrite our land use code, which the city is doing right now. We're still trying to get through phase 1, but there's going to be 3 phases. We can allow more types of housing and more housing total, more density of housing in basically all of the city. I live by the rail yard. My area is zoned for 21 units per acre. It is not a slum. It's actually quite nice. A lot of our city, that is the historic parts, have infill housing. They have casitas, they have compounds, they have a lot of buildings on one lot. And that's something we can implement throughout the city, but a lot of the code right now doesn't allow for that because it says, oh, you can only have 1 house per acre and maybe a casita. It's not a good use of our land, and it's not a good way to build affordable housing stock. So that's something we can address right now with the affordable housing, with the land use development code and our general plan rewrite. And we need to do that. I think that is our first priority in getting more housing.
Right. David.
Don't start my time yet, because I want to wish my mom a very happy birthday. She's here, so.
Sorry, that
Happy birthday.
counts.
So, she's my #1 fan. Sometimes my only fan, but all right, let's start the time now. Affordability. So when we look at affordability, it's a very complex issue. I think that we have as many solutions that have been proposed as there are ways to tackle this problem. But basically, it comes down to 2 things: affordability, and it comes down to increasing inventory. Everybody that talked today hit one of those 2 things. So in terms of increasing inventory, there's a lot of things that we could actually do right away. When we look at the 1,000 illegally operating short-term rentals, we need to start enforcing that. And we need to start enforcing that by putting out getting tough on this thing, cease and desist letters to folks, having them reapply, barring them from using it as a short-term rental until they have a permit. We need to prioritize who we give permits to. We need to prioritize people who own homes and are from Santa Fe. And if you're from Texas, maybe you're at the back of the line. I don't know if we could do that, but that's one of the first things that I would do. When we look at the Midtown campus, we're only putting 30% of that aside for affordable housing. I think it needs to be 100%. I think it needs to be 100% affordable or workforce housing. We're in a crisis right now. When you look at rents are up 78%. I'm all for having more condos and less rentals out there, and have people actually have that American dream by offering them help, because you can actually use the Section 8 voucher for mortgage assistance to help you with making a payment on a home. So those are just a few ideas. Obviously, we've got to redo the land use code. We also should have some proto designs. If you're going to build a 3-bedroom, 2-bath house, this is what it looks like. Here's some slight variations, but the colors and everything else should be pre-approved. And that's my answer. Thank you.
Thank you. Lee Garcia.
Thank you for the question. You know, going back to affordable housing, I don't really like the term affordable housing because I don't think that's, back when I bought my house in 2002, it was not affordable. It was attainable. I was able, but it was attainable because I was able to work and save money. I was able to get a good credit score, have a good credit score, and I was able to work hard to do that. And it wasn't easy for the first 10 years. Going back to building affordable housing, or at least attainable housing, I believe that supply and demand has a lot to do with it. You know, we are working at building more housing. One of the things that I also feel that needs to be looked at is workforce housing. Organizations that really do want to attract people to work for their organizations. I do sit as the chairman of the North Central Regional Transit District in Espanola, which are those little blue buses that go around everywhere. And one of our projects right now, and part of our sustainability futuristic plan, is to have workforce housing. We actually have a lot that we are looking for site to build on. And so there's a lot of different aspects to it, you know. And so when we look at, I'll just talk from the District 3's perspective, is we're building a lot of housing, and 40% of that in Terra Contenta is going to be attainable through programs like the Housing Trust, through programs like the Affordable Housing Trust Fund, and our inclusionary zoning type of stuff. And so again, we just have to continue to support our local economy, and just continue to not stop, keep on going forward.
Thank you. That's the end of a couple of rounds of longer questions, and now we're going to go to some short ones to give everyone a chance to be as brief as possible. I want to compliment the candidates for pretty much staying within their time limits. We're going to get to extra questions as a result, so thank you. So here's the first short question, and it starts with Elizabeth. Should the mayor be able to vote on all issues before the council, or only in case of a tie? Yes or no? And give us a reason. 1 minute.
I'm going to go ahead and say only in case of a tie. So right now, the mayor is acting right as the executive and a voting member. And I think the mayor should just be the executive and set the agenda and just vote in the case of a tie. Thanks.
Thank you. Paul.
I'm going to also say just in cases of a tie, or if needed for quorum. And that was one of the amendments that was made at the city council hearing where they decided to put this on the ballot that I would have voted for and agreed with.
Okay, Aurora?
I feel the mayor should actually be able to vote. Okay. I'm probably the only one that would believe that, but it's important that they have a vote. They were voted in, they should have a vote.
All right, Leroy?
Not too sure. I don't have a comment for this.
Okay, Councilor Garcia.
Thank you for the question. I did support and brought forth a charter review question to the governing body recently that did pass with an amendment, as Mr. Bustamante stated. It was written in the form that, as it currently stands, we would like to have the mayor only vote when there is a tie. I have my personal feelings on it, but I think that it also needs to go through the charter review process again to get proper recommendations, and we are pushing that forward as well as an initiative to bring forth the charter review in the next couple of years. So by next election, we'll have a better recommendation for the public.
Okay, Patricia.
I agree that I think the mayor should only vote in the case of a tie. The mayor is currently a male, so he does set the agenda and currently runs the meetings as well. So I think that is enough power in one person. I would agree with Councillor Garcia that it should be looked into more fully, the separation of powers between the council and the mayor and the balance of those powers through the Charter Commission.
Right.
David.
Well, I really do believe in the separation of powers. I think there's a legislative branch and an executive branch, and I think that we have seen, at least on the national level and here in our town, what happens with a strong mayor. I don't think the mayor should be able to vote. I think he should be able to veto things, and then come back to the council and have that council have an attempt to override the veto. But I think that we really need to draw a distinction between the power of the executive and the power of the legislative. I mean, that's American, so.
And Catherine.
I agree that the mayor should only vote in times of tie or if necessary for a quorum. And I do agree that the Charter Commission needs to be resurfaced so that we can discuss this and other issues that are important to the separation of powers.
Here's another 1-minute question. Santa Fe has ranked choice voting. Who are you ranking second in your council race?
And Paul, you get to answer this first.
Well, clearly, I want to just get enough first round votes to not have to worry about this, right? I actually haven't had a chance to speak to all of the candidates yet. I've only had a chance to speak with Ms. Barrett, and so this is going to be a lopsided answer because I haven't had a chance to speak. Although I did Facebook stalk Aurora a little bit, Ms. Martinez, but and so I know that Ms. Barrett and I do share some views on some issues. So as it stands today, if I knew nothing else about the other two, I would say her, but I do want to learn more about the other two candidates so I can make an informed choice. Thank you.
All right. And Councillor Garcia, I'm going to skip you because you're unopposed. You can't rank. Sorry. Okay. So that goes back to Patricia. Oh.
Yes?
Yes. Who are you going to rank second in your race?
So hopefully Catherine remembers this conversation, but we had a conversation where we spoke about cross-endorsing each other. And so I would say Catherine Rivera for my second choice.
Nice. David? You're the third guy out now.
Well, the game's afoot, right?
Uh-huh.
Honestly, I'm probably going to vote for myself in my vote, but if I had to, I'd probably write in Cameron. There you go.
All right. Hey, sorry. Catherine.
I would rank second Patricia.
All right. And Elizabeth?
Yeah, I would say Paul and I have had some really in-depth conversations about the issues, and he is a kind, compassionate, thoughtful person. So I'd probably rank Paul number 2. And I'd just like to say that the camaraderie has been great, that we're not against each other. We're just for our own platform. And I think that's like a welcome, refreshing change in American politics. Yeah, give it up for, okay. Yeah, I put Paul.
Okay, round 6.
Okay, Mayor Alan Weber has proposed a significant.
Oh, wait.
Oh,
I forgot Leroy. Sorry. Apologies. It's hard to keep track.
I actually have stalked Mr. Bustamante quite a bit. I have stalked everyone, actually. I'm going to be honest about that. I do quite a bit of research on everyone. I do feel a lot of our views, mine and Paul Bustamante's views are quite there. Even though he hasn't spoken with me, I have been paying attention to everything that he says. Everything that he says in the news, and I respect that, and I would vote Paul Bustamante.
Hey, now Leroy, sorry.
Oh, yes, I've been so busy running my own campaign. I haven't had time to actually research the candidates. Been doing everything from marketing, ordering, graphic design, everything, developing my website. So I haven't had time to research any candidate. I've been so busy. and also about ranked choice voting. I've spoke to a lot of citizens and they're completely confused about ranked choice voting. And from my understanding, I want all of you to research ranked choice voting, and the wrong candidate from this system could always get into office by achieving, I think, the fourth, third, and most of the second choice votes. If the favorite person gets most of the first choice votes, they could end up losing the race because the wrong person is getting more of the other votes. So I'd recommend you to do your research on ranked choice voting.
Okay. Now we'll start round 6.
Thank you, guys.
Okay. Are we still missing one candidate?
Yes, 1 minute.
This will continue to be 1 minute. Mayor Alan Weber has proposed a significant increase in the minimum wage for workers in Santa Fe. Do you support or oppose his proposal? Yes or no? And why?
And it starts with Aurora.
Aurora.
Thank you. I do support this. I believe it's $17.50 an hour. I support this because this is going to essential workers that we need, that day-to-day people in our running of our city, Parks and Rec. All of us know we really want those weeds cut. We want the syringes off the parks. So yes, I really do feel it's important to raise that to $750. Where we're going to get the budget, it's in the works from what I understand, and it's not going to go into effect until 2026, which is kind of a bummer to have to wait for that. There might be something that we can do in the meantime. I've been researching on that. Thank you.
Leroy?
Yes, when it comes to raising the minimum wage, it's a double-edged sword. It benefits workers, but then it also drives industry away from Santa Fe, especially small businesses, and it creates a monopoly, and it gives the larger corporations the business, the business and the workers that are employing these individuals. So it's a double-edged sword, and it affects small businesses. It's going to drive industry away from Santa Fe.
Councilor Garcia?
Thank you. As far as the mandated minimum wage or the living wage, I don't support it just as a one-off. I think there's a couple of things that it does to our youth market and to our entry level. Just about everybody, and I am a business owner, there's nobody in my organization that's making less than that. And the reason for that is because they show their worth. But there's very many things that we have to look at. We have to look at payroll taxes. We have to look at how it affects the small business owners. We have to take a look at how it affects our economy in terms of inflation, and make a really informed decision as to how all of that is going to affect our living in Santa Fe. Sure, it really does follow what things cost, but I think that as the city of Santa Fe is concerned, if we really want to increase the living wage, we should start there and then drive the competition up within the area, and people will follow suit.
Thank you. And Tricia?
Yeah, I agree with raising the minimum wage right now at $15 an hour. Basically, the only rent that someone could afford on that kind of salary is about $800 a month, which hopefully, as we all know, doesn't exist in Santa Fe. So I think, unless something really happens to our housing market, it's a necessity to raise that minimum wage.
Right. David?
I think it's a good start. I think that I think we also need to take a real hard look at what we're paying our city workers. I think one of the first things that we should do is decide what the raise is going to be for city workers. I mean, that's right out of the gate right away, and I think that there's some numbers on the table related to that. I think that we got to look at how we protect and compensate small businesses. But yeah, I think it's a good start. I think that we got a long way to go. I think living wage in Santa Fe has got to be like what, $75K at least, minimum. So we got a long way to go if we're going to really have a true living wage. So,
right. Catherine?
This one's a tough one for me, and I still, at this moment, am a little bit undecided, and I'll tell you why. We had a Flying Star restaurant once upon a time at the rail yard. We have a Flying Star restaurant in Albuquerque, And there was several people that came in because it was a regular spot of mine. But regular guests, familiar guests would come in both from Albuquerque and Santa Fe. And we had some Albuquerque groups come in and they started looking at the menu and they said, looking at each other and comparing notes. And they asked, is that the right price? And the management from the city shop said, yes, that's the Santa Fe price. So there was clearly a difference between what was being offered, the price tag for all of the entries to the customer, difference between Santa Fe and Albuquerque. And that is exactly what's going to happen. So as we increase the minimum wage, naturally it's going to increase the price of our burritos, our green chili cheeseburgers, et cetera. I fully understand that the cost of living is high in Santa Fe, and we do need to have a living wage for the folks to live here and stay here.
We're done. Thank you, though. And next we have Paul. Oh, no, Elizabeth. Sorry.
I wholeheartedly agree in increasing the living wage. I think it doesn't go far enough. I've always worked with working families. I've always worked in Title I schools. You don't know how many single moms I've worked with that have to work 3 and 4 jobs just to make it. They're still not making it. This gig workforce, people having to work all the time and not being able to spend any time with their families. So guys, again, like I'm saying, all these issues, they're connected. You don't have a living wage. You have to work 3 or 4 jobs, right? Your kids have to be in all these different programs, which are great and supportive, but you should be able to work a job, right? And have an income, be able to support your family, and people are not making it right now. Let me just tell you that. So I wholeheartedly support it and think it doesn't go far enough. Thanks.
Thank you.
Can Santa Fe continue to be? Oh, sorry, Paul.
Yeah.
That's okay. So yes, I do support it. I've actually been one of those people that Ms. Barrett was talking about. I was a single parent. I raised my 2 oldest daughters from the time they were 7 and 9, and I had to work multiple jobs just to pay for their before and after school care. I believe that everybody should be able to live where they work. And right now, I mean, this isn't going to quite do it, but it's a good start. And the other thing that I feel is that, during the pandemic, we had this whole list of people. We had grocers, we had servers, we had our city workers, all these people that we called heroes. We failed them because they cannot afford to live in this city. So yes, I support this as a start, and I think it's something we need to look at and maintain in order for people to live here. Thank you.
Next. Can Santa Fe continue to be an immigrant-friendly city, considering the federal government's actions in rounding up people and threatening to withhold funding to Santa Fe?
Leroy goes first.
Yes, when it comes to our economy, our economy doesn't have the structure to support. It doesn't matter where you're from, if you're purple, green, yellow. We have to focus on our citizens first. We don't have the industry to supply jobs. We don't have the housing to supply jobs. Bringing in 50,000 people all at once, packing people into houses is going to cause anxiety, stress, drug use, alcoholism, violence, and packing our jails because we don't have the jobs, housing, or infrastructure to support these people. It's not about ethnic, where you're from. It's about the amount of people allowing into Santa Fe that we can't support.
Thank you. Councilor Garcia.
Thank you. Santa Fe can be immigrant friendly, and I think that we need to be immigrant friendly. I do think we also have to uphold laws that we have, and I think that goes back to our crime that's happening. Not all immigrants are criminals. People who break the law are criminals, but we can be immigrant friendly, and I think we need our immigrants here. We need our immigrants here. And so some of the steps I think that the city can do is to work. We should work with our federal delegations to come up with the best ideas as how do we bring pathways forward for our communities to become able to work, to become able to live here. And I think it's very important because yes, we are all inclusive here in Santa Fe.
All right, thank you. Patricia.
Yeah, I think Santa Fe we need our immigrants. We need to protect the people who live here and work here. They, just because they are from somewhere else doesn't mean that they are not Santa Feans and that we should not stick up for them like we stick up for everyone else.
Thank you, David.
Yeah, absolutely. I think we need to protect our neighbors, our friends, the people that maybe do landscaping for us, our servers when we go out to a restaurant. They are a vital part of this economy, but they're also a vital part of what makes America great, truly makes America great, not what's on a red hat, right? So, I'm very unapologetically, it's good that I'm all the way to the left at this table because I'm all the way to the left on this issue. I think that I've said that if ICE ever comes into this town, we should get some entrepreneuring tow truck drivers because ICE agents like to park illegally and impound their cars. I think that this is why we need strong neighborhood associations, is so that we can organize and we can stand up if it ever comes to that. Because right now it's the immigrants. It could be the LGBTQ plus community next. Anybody that doesn't look like a Christian nationalist is up for it. And if you think that we're going to live in an authoritarian state, guess what, people? We already are, and we need to protect each other.
Thank you. Catherine.
Yes, Santa Fe should remain an immigrant-friendly city. Santa Fe has always been a welcoming community, and it's part of our charter, and it should remain so.
Thanks. Elizabeth?
Yeah, I agree with what David said. We need to stand up for our friends, for our neighbors. Look, I work in schools. Families are feeling terrified. Children are feeling terrified to attend school, to go learn. Is that what we want in our communities? No, we want our families to feel safe. We want our children to feel safe. We want our neighbors to feel safe, and we need to stand up for that together. Thanks.
All right. Paul?
Yeah, we should be protecting them. Immigrants built this country, immigrants built this city, and we do not need mass thugs coming in and taking children and our friends and our family and our neighbors out of churches, out of schools, out of places of business. We should be protecting them, and we should remain an immigrant-friendly city, even if it's in defiance of what the current administration in Washington wants.
Aurora?
Yes, we do need to remain immigrant friendly. I believe in it wholeheartedly, more so, especially knowing that my son's friends are afraid. He's 10 years old. He's going to school. Is he going to see his friends? They are essential workers. They work our agriculture in Santa Fe. Yes, we do have agriculture in Santa Fe. They work the jobs that are truly just hard for us to do every day, and I support them. I totally will protect them with everything that I have.
All right.
Final question here. Some of you have addressed this issue, but I'm going to go ahead and ask it. Does it concern you that a significant portion of our police officers don't live in Santa Fe? What policies do you believe would help officers live in the city they serve?
And we start with
Lee.
Yeah,
Lee.
Thank you for the question. Yeah, it does concern me that a large part of our public safety force does live outside of the city limits. In conversation with many of the people who do work for our public safety, some choose to live in other communities. And one of the things that I am working with co-counselors on is trying to incorporate public safety housing into our new housing initiatives. Phase 3 of Terra Contenta, we're working with the current developer, and how do we incorporate that into the housing needs of that community? Because 1,500 houses, when we're developing and we're growing, we need people. We need public safety. We need people that work in public safety. We need people that can afford to live and work in our city. But it is a significant issue, and I think that when they do want to live here, we need to make it attainable for them, whether it's through programs or through city initiatives.
Thank you. Patricia?
It concerns me that so much of our police force doesn't live here, just like it concerns me that so much of our workforce in general doesn't live here. It's not as high of a percentage, but it's still about 30%, from what I understand, commutes in from outside of the county. And that's a housing issue. Some of it, sure, is probably choice. I understand if you're a police officer, you might not want to live in the community where you live and where you work and be on duty 24 hours a day. But we need to have housing, like Councilor Garcia said, that is attainable to all levels of our workforce. And police should be part of that. And the city can have, specific programs for public safety officers. And I think that would make sense.
Right. David.
Yeah, I think that, it disturbs me. That 69% of our police live somewhere else. I mean, Rio Rancho is probably very safe because that's where they all live. And I'm unable to drive over the speed limit between Santa Fe and Albuquerque because there's so many policemen coming off shift or going on shift. But we need to make it a priority for all first responders, for nurses, for docs, for teachers, for police to be able to live here. Look at the very successful program to house teachers at Gallup. They actually brought in manufactured housing. We need to be creative in that way. The state police put a trailer up, put a manufactured house up at rest stops. Why can't we do that for our parks? I would love to have a cop on my block, but it is impossible to do community policing without police in the community. So new police need to come from the community, and they need to reflect the diversity of our community.
Right.
That's it.
Thanks. Catherine.
So I'm scheduled to do a ride-along with the police next Sunday. And as I've been having dialogue with them on a regular basis, as I was a graduate of the Citizens Academy a couple of years ago, and I learned all things about the entire police force. One of the things that we discussed back then was we had a survey. And we said, of those of you who live out of town, how many of you would relocate to Santa Fe? 0. They preferred to live in Rio Rancho. And there was a lot of reasons behind that. The schools were better, the parks were better, the quality of life in Rio Rancho was better. So the big issue that Santa Fe is facing is competing with the quality of life of Rio Rancho. Now, many of those were long established in their career. So I agree with Councilor Garcia and the approach that we need to target housing. And it goes back to my question of, are we getting housing to the people that need it? We need to look at those police officers who are early in their career, the first responders that are early in their career, and get them into Santa Fe earlier. So with the housing, we need to address that. But I will tell you, most of the folks living in Rio Rancho won't relocate here.
All right. Elizabeth.
Hey, yeah, I think it's a concern because I think if people see a lack of, let's say, police officers, right, in the city, they're, more apt to, maybe want to do more things that are, right, not acceptable. So I think if we can even just do some workforce housing, some incentives to bring back law enforcement to want to live in town, that would be really helpful. Just the presence of police cars. There's data that just shows when people see a presence of cars in the neighborhood, in the area, crime goes down, right? So if all our officers are leaving at night and, right, there is a lack of presence in town, we're going to feel that. And a lot of things that occur in Santa Fe, crimes that occur are in the evening. There's a lot of break-ins in the evening. And if none of our officers are here in the evening to respond, or there's a lack of officers, right, more crime is occurring. So I think it's an issue that we need to really think about and take action on. Thanks.
Thank you. Paul.
Yes, I am concerned about it. I agree with, I think it was Ms. Rivera, I'm sorry, that said earlier that we need to focus on those officers who are entering their careers. The officer I went on a ride along with, he was telling me that in 4 months when his lease is up, he's going to have to move to Rio Rancho. And a lot of this stems down to, Santa Fe actually has a very competitive package for officers. We offer great pay, we offer great benefits, but all things being equal, if you also don't have to drive 2 hours every day, I can see why they're making the choices that they are. So we need to do something about the affordable housing so that they can live here and raise their families here and be parts of our community. Thank you.
Thank you. And Aurora?
All right. Well, my neighborhood is actually very safe, and I see very many police in my neighborhood. So I feel very safe. I love Hopewell Manor neighborhood. It does have a higher percentage of crime rate, but it is my neighborhood. I love it. It is diverse, it's beautiful, and it's resilient. The one thing I'm concerned about is there isn't enough incentives. There isn't enough prioritization to keep police officers here. We need to keep the pride here so that they want to be here. We need to make it competitive enough. And yes, they do have competitive pay, but again, I make now some pretty good money now in these days. And if I was for my grandfather's home that I live in, I couldn't live here. I could not live here. Not my son and myself. We would have to live somewhere else, maybe somewhere very far away. So I am concerned.
Okay. Leroy.
These houses are available. If you call your local contractors, they are waiting on permits to build houses. We need a more effective system to rapidly approve permits because these houses are ready to be built, but the permits are getting approved. And it's very important that we, build these houses for our first responders, our police, our nurses, our doctors, so they attend to our city, faster, keep our city safe. But these houses are ready to be built. I encourage all of you to call your local contractors and ask them how long it's taking building permits to get approved. Some are taking years, 3-4 years. That's the solution to meet the demand, the demand, and meet it with the supply. These houses are ready to be built. See what the issue is with these permits being approved.
Okay. And we lied. There is one more question, and we're going to go back to Patricia to start. This is the last question, and you have 2 minutes, so you get to go on and expound a little bit. Why should voters choose you rather than your opponents?
Easy question, right? Right. So my name's Pat Figali, like we've been saying, but I'm a lawyer. I'm a city planner. I'm the only one of the three of us running in District 1 who has worked for the city. I am familiar with the issues. I know where some of these sticking points that Leroy is talking about are. I think I have the confidence of a lot of city staff because I've worked with a lot of them. I just left there a few months ago to run for office. I am really focused on our housing crisis, our affordability, our sustainability, being able to get around our city safely, walking, biking, maybe even taking the bus. We can make that a possibility and an option for folks. Yeah, you can go to my website, patforsantafe.com. I have a lot of policy positions on there, but I think that I have the experience and the education to do a really great job at this position. Thank you.
Thank you. David.
Okay, so my name's David Montoya. I'm also running for District 1. I think it's time to really turn the page on the last 8 years. I think we need to start over. think we need to come together, with my experience and the things that I've done. And I'm a miracle that I'm here. It's a miracle that I'm here, whether it was my time spent in the military, and the struggles that came after that. My life has been one of amazing success or sometimes horrible failure. But each time I've gotten up and I've dusted myself off and have moved forward. And we find our city in the same place. We're on our backs. It's the fourth quarter, and it's time to rise again, Santa Fe. I've spent most of my time since I've moved back involved in the community, whether it's helping with Zozobra or whether it's being a member of the Fiesta Council, or being a Democratic Party work chair. I've been a Democrat all my life, and I think that right now, especially where we are in our history, especially where we are with our government DC, it's motivated me to run. Like I said before, we need to Trump-proof our city. We need to protect our citizens, we need to protect our immigrant brothers and sisters. And when I look across the table at all my opponents, everybody loves this town. But if you asked me who is best positioned to do those things, to understand what can happen and what has happened when we have an authoritarian president and fight back, I'm that person. Thank you.
Catherine.
Thank you for this opportunity. I believe I'm the best candidate for Santa Fe for a couple of main reasons. One, I am born and raised here, but I've traveled the globe. I worked 33 years in private industry for a company that had me involved in things like mergers and acquisitions, internal audits, contract negotiations, vendor management, systems integrations, and the latter part of that time with that career, I was the main point of contact for compliance issues for matters involving the State Department. I have traveled through the country. I've lived on the East Coast. I've lived on the West Coast. I have traveled internationally. I have seen examples of different types of housing and zonings and approaches that other cities have done throughout the globe. I want to bring those to Santa Fe. Over the last few years, I have immersed myself in familiarizing myself with all of the Santa Fe issues. I am a regular attendee at the governing body meetings, at the Historic District Review Board meetings, at the ENN meetings, and many neighborhood association meetings. I am plugged into Santa Fe. Many of you will recognize my face as somebody who's always in the seat. I don't believe there's anyone here, except for Mr. Garcia, that is more plugged in than I am. I want to bring my talents, my energy, and my skills to Santa Fe to help Santa Fe be a better Santa Fe. I appreciate your time. Thank you.
Right. Now we move to District 2, starting with Elizabeth Barrett.
Again, I'm Elizabeth Barrett. I'm running in District 2, and I'm a mom, I'm a social worker, and I'm a trained problem solver. So I went to school, I got my master's in social work from New Mexico Highlands University in social work to be a trained problem solver. So that was the top thing that I came out with, right, with that degree is working with others, working in a group, working as a team. What does city council need to do to get things done? Work as a team, work together, listen to each other. And I think my skills as a trained problem solver are going to help me to do that, make me the most qualified candidate because I have that skill set. I've worked 20 years in schools with veterans, in alternative sentencing, drug and alcohol, rehabilitation, affordability, all the issues that Santa Fe is experiencing right now. I've had personal experience working with those issues as a social worker and as a problem solver. And as a mom, I know how to get it done, right? Moms have that list of things to do, and we check it off one by one. We have to drive the kids to school. We have to make the dinner, right? We have to help with the homework. We have to do all the things. I know the dads help too. Give it up for the dads too, right? But moms get it done. We don't have a choice to not get it done. City council does not have a choice to not get it done. We have urgency right now, right? We're in crisis mode with most of these issues, especially with affordability. We do not have time to keep sitting around and going over and over and over these things again, these issues that have not been solved yet. Moms know how to get it done. I know how to get it done. I've been doing that for 20 plus years as a social worker, and I think that makes me the most qualified candidate.
Thank you. Paul Bustamante.
So I know it feels like a long time ago, but you know, politicians in this country used to run on hope. They used to say, you know, we have hope for our children, for their future. We have a hope that everybody's going to have a good job and make a good living and have a nice place to live. We have hope that people can help their neighbors. And I know it's really easy to get caught up in what's going on at the national level. But for me, doing things here locally makes sense because everything starts local. We're all neighbors. We all deal with the same things. We all see the people sitting in front of Target underneath the blanket smoking something blue, which I don't even know what that is. We all run into the city mascot, which is the pothole. I mean, all of these things are personal to us, and they're personal to me. If you see my website or my signs, it says your voice for positive change. And I truly believe that. That's what I want to do. I want to make some positive changes for Santa Fe. So yes, I have a background. I've worked for the government from the time I was 18, whether it's, serving my community or serving my country. I have over 20 years experience in doing that. I worked for one of the largest commands in the United States Air Force, helping them to set policy. So I know what it's like to do even bits of this job. But mostly, I want to make a change in our community, and I think that I can do that with your support. Thank you.
Aurora.
Your vote.
Thank you. I'm going to be honest. I really wasn't going to run. It wasn't my intention. What came about with my intention was I show up at all city council meetings. I advocate for communities, not just my own. I'm constantly showing up. What I'm constantly hearing is we're not being listened to. We're not being heard. We're being talked over. We are having decisions being made for us. I feel like sometimes we'll talk at city council meetings and it'll just be that, just us talking and nobody's listening. I think that the community actually has a voice. I think we know what we need to do in our community. I think we should have a voice to say what we need, what we want. We do know. I want to be that voice. I believe in servant leadership, not the other way around. I'm here to serve you. I'm going to do this because I want to fight for you. This has nothing to do with me. Yes, I struggled. I have social work background. I have research background. I have government background, project management background. I built my business. I struggled from a young single mom on a single income. I struggled from that all the way where I'm at now. However, I'm still struggling because I'm living in my grandfather's home. I couldn't live in this hometown of mine without that. I want to be the voice for you. Let me hear you, let me listen, and let me learn. Let me advocate for you at this level. Thank you.
Thank you. Leroy.
No, we're not going to Mars. We're not building a rocket. There's only so many solutions that we could address these problems. And I gave you the solution. A lot of it comes down to permits. Permits are not being approved for building. We have the house, we have the individuals that want to build thousands of houses and meet the demand and supply these houses so they can compete for prices and drive the prices way down. And an example for this is the marijuana industry. When the marijuana industry first started in New Mexico, the prices were skyrocketing. And then when the governor did a rapid approval of all these marijuana permits, the prices went way down. The same will happen once we approve the building permits, the business permits. I've spoken with business owners, and permits are on hold for years. So I encourage you all to ask why these permits aren't being on hold, because that is the solution to our problems, and the solution to housing, the solution to making stuff affordable is making competitive prices. It's the permits, the permits, the permits.
Thank you. Councilor Garcia, you might be unopposed, but tell people why they need to get out and vote anyway in your district.
Well, thank you. I do want to congratulate every single one of these individuals up here. It really shows how a person puts themselves forward and selflessly gets up there and sits through 5 to 6 to 7 to 8 hours of council governing body meetings, listening to an angry mob sometimes. And, all joking aside, I think that when you get involved into your community, I think that some of the best legislation that comes forward is that is brought forward by the community. So having your community events, listening to the people, whether you agree with them or not, I think you have to bring that voice forward. And, from my perspective, every time I come to the roundtable. I call it a roundtable because when everybody brings a different perspective to the roundtable, most of the time you're going to get the right answers out of it. If you're listening, if you're not listening, you're just going to do whatever you want and who cares, right? But I think that from my perspective, I'll talk about getting involved because in 2017 or 2018, I got involved with the Planning Commission and spent about almost 4 years on there. Coming up to the last election, I decided, you know, what the heck, let's give people some choices out there. You know, granted, this time I don't have an opponent. However, it's still important for us to be out there and forward facing and talk to constituents. You know, there is a lot of work with this role, whether it's chairing a board or being on a board or just sitting around and giving your perspective, and common sense goes a long ways. And I think listening to people goes a long ways too. We are elected by the public, and therefore we have to make hard decisions at times. Sometimes decisions that aren't very, very popular. But you know, my trust is that we make the right decisions by listening to people.
Thank you. And thank everyone for attending. We are at the end of our 90-minute question and answers, and we appreciate everyone who is taking the time to run for office. It's a hard job. And for everyone here, thank you for attending. And please tell your friends that the debate will be online. You can watch it at the New Mexicans YouTube channel, at the college's YouTube channel. And that way you can share the information with all of your friends. It's at KSFR, K Suave has run it. And we will be back here in the Hemis room on September 17th at 5:30 to interview the candidates for mayor. We'll see you then. Thank you. They did really